Hi guys, in today's video, I'm going to be making Golumpki, or better known as stuffed cabbage. My husband is Polish and absolutely loves this dish. So when I saw on Facebook that they had a dupe that you can make in your Instapot or Crock pot in under a half hour, I was all in. And then I decided that if I'm going to make this for the first time, it would be really beneficial to my subscribers if I shared this recipe. I know a lot of people out there absolutely love stuffed cabbage, but it's such a hassle and so time consuming. And so if I can create ways that I can save you guys time and myself time, we all end up profiting with time that we can spend at the Dollar Tree. And this warm, delicious dinner can be made in your Instapot or your crock pot. In this recipe, we're going to finely chop 2 medium-sized onions. We're going to use 1.5 pounds of fresh ground beef, 4 cloves of garlic. You can add more or less to taste. I also chopped a full head of cabbage as shown in the Facebook recipe, but I decided that next time I'm going to chop it a lot finer than you see me cooking it in this recipe. I also used an entire can of tomato puree, but the recipe originally calls for 4 tablespoons. In this pinch bowl, I have 1 teaspoon of ground paprika, 1 teaspoon of table salt, a teaspoon of organic adobo. I don't like MSG. A teaspoon of black pepper. And, oops, that would be the olive oil you need to saute the ground beef in, but I didn't spill it, guys. You're going to need 3 tablespoons of olive oil, a half a teaspoon of oregano leaves, and 2 tablespoons of parsley. I wish I had fresh. I would have used a bunch of parsley, but I didn't have it on hand. The next thing we're going to do is put 3 tablespoons of olive oil in the bottom of our Instapot and set it to saute. We're going to chop up our onions and put our 1.5 pounds of ground beef, the finely minced garlic, and the chopped onions all together in the Instapot and saute them. During this process, you're also going to add in your pinch bowl of seasonings, and everything is basically going to get cooked during the saute process that we're putting in right now. Now, the trick is the rice and the cabbage have to cook in the same amount of time, and the Facebook recipe showed cutting the cabbage up into really big cubes, but I did not like the way that the cabbage came out in that variation of the recipe because I like my cabbage to be really thoroughly soft and cooked. In the Facebook recipes version, it was sort of hard and almost like salad cabbage, which I prefer well done cabbage. So I'm cutting in smaller pieces so that the rice can cook in the rice setting and everything can taste delicious. See the steam coming off of the Instapot? That ground beef is basically cooked. Then I add in 1 cup of white rice. You can use long grain rice, but I chose jasmine. And you mix that around, and the recipe calls for 4 tablespoons of tomato paste, but once I saw what it looked like, I decided to add the whole can and a can of crushed tomatoes as well. I definitely think that the crushed tomatoes made a big difference because I like stuffed cabbage that has a lot of chunky, delicious sauce to dip my bread in. Here you'll see the size that I cut the cabbage in, these large coarse cut cubes that I totally will never do that again. I like my cabbage well done and will be cutting them each cube like that into 3 pieces so that it cooks down and softens in the 15 minutes that it takes to cook the rice. The recipe called for 6 cups of beef broth, but I didn't have it on hand, so I substituted broth, and it really didn't make a difference. There's so much seasoning and flavor from the cabbage and the ground beef that you can't tell whether you use chicken broth or vegetable broth or beef broth, but I'll use beef broth next time I make it. And then I set the Instapot on rice, which is usually 15 minutes. I'm not sure if everybody's Instapot has the exact same setting, but my Instapot rice is 15 minutes. And that is what the recipe actually called for. So if you have a better idea on how to get your rice and cabbage to cook at the exact same time, by all means, you can alter how long you cook it for. But in my Instapot, rice takes 15 minutes to cook. And when it was done, it was so delicious. The steam was released, and the smell of the food coming out of the Instapot was really just like I had made Golumpki, which is the name for stuffed cabbage. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know by liking and subscribing to my network. It's really great for the YouTube metadata. And as always, I want to thank you for joining me. And stay safe and stay savvy, guys. Bye. Happy eating.